I think some people get off on just being triggered all the time
Yes,
too.
I do. I agree with you. I believe that it gives a dopamine hit. I believe that whatever chemicals are produced by outrage and being in that triggered state, people have grown accustomed to. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast this week.
Welcome to episode 6.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to talk about getting triggered.
Okay.
It's kind of like a buzzy word, right?
Triggered.
In the self-help world.
Triggered.
Triggered. Lots of stuff of like trigger warnings. You have people who are like, oh, you need them. People who are like, I'm not responsible for your triggers or your own thing.
Yeah.
And I've always been interested in this topic because once again, it's a concept that helps point you back to you. And it doesn't seem like that at all if you don't want it to seem like that. And by that, I mean, most people think that their triggers are someone else's responsibility and someone else's fault.
The word is kind of weird. It's like admitting that you're triggered is never something people want to do.
No, not at all.
It's always like you're triggered.
You're triggering me. Yeah.
Or like I could see you're triggered right now. It's like a kind of derogatory.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet people also want you to be like, you need to be sensitive to possibly triggering people. So I just kind of want to like break down what that's about and what you can do with it if you want to use it to your benefit. Because
yes,
I think it can be, very, very obviously pointing to something that is there for you to see if you want to see it.
I feel like you and I have been really working through this work in the past year of like really noticing things happening and like
physical reactions,
clear dysregulation, and be like, what is this about? What is this about? Why is my body reacting to this circumstance?
Well, and let's discuss first of all, without that awareness, what it was leading to before.
Like I remember clearly I had a work situation that like made me lightheaded.
Because you were so like the heart racing and like all the stuff your body was doing made you feel literally like you're going to pass out.
And I'm like, dude, this is crazy. Crazy. What? You know what I mean?
And it would make it so you're like, it's so interesting because like I have a lot of, understanding of how the brain works. But when you think about it in this sense, like your thinking part of your brain like goes offline. Because I can't, when you're in that state, I can't even really talk to you. You don't hear me.
It wouldn't matter what you said.
Yeah.
I would have heard you, but it wouldn't
have penetrated. It doesn't, your brain is kind of like, get that out of here.
I would have to come down first to be able to use that part of my brain.
Exactly. And so it's such a primal survival state and reaction that we have because it's a matter of safety. Back in the day, it would have been something our bodies and our nervous systems particularly are reacting the way that it would react if we were in imminent danger. Because whatever you were experiencing with work felt like a threat. If you take that super back in the day, it's like a threat to your life. And our bodies are responding as if that's what's happening. Like there's a real threat. And yet, whatever it was you couldn't fight, you're not going to beat someone up. You're not going to scream at them. We have these like emotional charges inside of us that don't really get a chance to complete like they would. If there was actually a real threat, you would handle it. You would run or you would fight. There are options. But when we're in this modern age of emails or some type of work interaction that needs to happen are causing us to feel like our lives are literally in danger, like we might die. That's a hard position to be in because the biology and the neurology of what's happening in our body is saying there's a big, big problem right here and you need to do something about it. And you're just like on a Zoom call and you're like, and you can hear your heart in your ears. You're not even hearing anything anymore. You feel woozy. You're like, oh my gosh. Like I've had situations where my legs have gone numb and I'm like, what is going on? And you think of how dangerous, and I don't know if dangerous is the right word, but like how big of a problem it is to not have the awareness of what's happening and to just be like, oh my gosh, like
I'm triggered.
Yeah. I mean, not even like that. Just think of without the awareness of like, whoa, what's happening in my body? What is this bringing up for me? What's the emotional charge here? Without any of that awareness, what were you doing in the past? What would it have led you to do if you weren't like, oh, let's kind of see what this is doing. What's here for me?
I have no idea.
You would get really mad. You would not be able to work. You would talk to me about it and we would just keep hyping each other up. We would, beat a dead horse from every angle, feeling like we needed to work it out. We would fuel it. You would, and the time it would take for it to come back down and for you to be at a baseline would be much longer, could be 24 hours, could be longer, without the awareness of what is happening for me right now. And so there is a level of awareness that must be acknowledged, which is how I'm feeling about this has everything to do with the meaning that I'm giving it. And so I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about how that falls short and how I found that falling short in coaching too. And that's this real big focus that my emotional experience, because this is not untrue, like the emotional experience that I have from anything going on in my life, any interaction with somebody, anything that I see, anything that I hear about, anything that I experience in my environment is only based on my perception of it. How do we know that? Because if it wasn't that way, then we would all have the exact same reaction to the same circumstance. Something happens and we all collectively react the same way. We have the same experience. We all view it in the same way, but we know that's not the case because, we had a situation the other day where you and I responded completely different to it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the thing that was causing our feelings. That it can't be. So we have to take accountability. We don't. It's funny. I'm not going to keep caveating that because I see so many people that don't. So you don't have to. You don't have to. You can blame everybody else for how you feel. You totally have that. But again, if you blame everybody else for your emotional reaction and your triggers are always everyone else's fault, you are now at the mercy of everything around you. Your environment controls you. I'm not even going to say your environment controls your emotional reaction. Your environment controls you because you're at the mercy of whatever you see, hear about, think about. It's all happening to you.
And most people walk around their lives like that.
Yes. And it just makes for a very reactive life and under the guise of like taking accountability and responsibility and doing something about it when you're constantly living in reaction mode when everything that everyone else does and everything that happens is happening to you instead of seeing it and being like, oh, okay, whoa, I'm having a really big internal reaction about this. What's that about? And the answer will always be, well, I'm making it mean that he doesn't care about me at all, or he's going to leave me, or they're going to fire me, or whatever. Like you'll realize if you can access that part of your brain, which we'll get into why that might be a challenge and borderline impossible at certain points, you'll find that the perception that you're having is creating a really big emotional experience for you. Most likely because it has a familiarity and a resemblance of something that was unsafe in your past normally. Someone let you down, someone, was unsafe, someone, whatever. So you'll find that I'm feeling fear because I'm telling myself a story that is a very scary story. I'm feeling terrified because I am future casting the worst possible case scenario. I'm totally in catastrophizing mode. That's why I'm feeling this way. Whereas someone else will be like, I'm not really concerned about that. And because of that, they can see the exact same thing and be like, it's not affecting me in that same way. And the goal isn't to just like be neutral about everything. I think that's kind of a misconception too, that the goal is never to just like, oh, just have you ever tried seeing it in a better light? There are some things that we will see or experience in our lives that we're like, no, I want to have a negative reaction to that. I would like to be upset about that. If someone abuses my child, I'm not looking to be like, well, how could this be a gift for her later in life? That's not the point I want to get to. Also, I also know that staying in anger and resentment if something bad did happen for the rest of my life probably wouldn't be super helpful either. It's like we move through emotional states, but there are things that happen in the world that I want to be angry about, at least for a period of time. That's okay. It's not about painting everything in a good brush, but it's also about being like, I'm angry because this is the way that I see it. And I have a right to see it in that way and feel the way I feel, and also know that I'm creating my emotional state. I'm creating this anger because of the story that I'm choosing to believe about that. That's still my responsibility. I just want to choose to be angry on purpose instead of just in reaction.
So let's say my mother-in-law said something really rude to me or something.
Yeah.
And people are of the perspective that like I am feeling anger because she said something.
Yes.
That was really rude. I wish she wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
She always says stuff like
You're
this.
painting the picture though right now.
I know. Just play along with me.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I'm feeling the way I am.
Yeah.
That's the way everything going on is because of what she said.
Yeah, that's what most people believe. They'll be like, if I wouldn't feel this way if she hadn't said that.
Right.
So obviously, the connections we make is a connection to our circumstances causing our pain. It's saying because they did this, because she said this, because this happened, I feel this way, which is a shitty place to be, because that means in order for you to feel better, they now have to be different. Everything around you has to remain in perfect order for you to feel okay, or for you to not be upset. And that's where we're missing a link in between the way that we're feeling and what's happening in our life, which is, what did I make it mean? And I like playing, playing around with this. Sometimes when there are people that specifically drive me fucking insane, I like to imagine that whatever they said, my grandma said. And that shows me that it had nothing to do.
Tell people why.
Because I love my grandma. And she could say anything to me, like anything she wanted to say. I wouldn't. It's my grandma. I don't care. Like, and it's not like she was saying anything like super offensive or anything, but like if she had said the same thing, I would have painted it in a different light just because I had the choice to. I'd be like, oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, she didn't mean to offend me, or she did. I don't know. She just wouldn't anyways. But you know what I mean? There are some times where, you see certain people as being manipulative because they said something, but it's not the thing they said, it's who said it, because I have feelings about who said it. She drives me crazy. So her saying that, not okay. Her saying, oh, that's fine. It's not a big deal. So it wasn't about what they said. It's about,
you have a story about the person.
I have a story about the person. And which is so crazy, because if you have a story about a person, then you're going to have a filter of whatever they do that is filtered through you and filtered through your beliefs about when they said that, it meant that they feel this way and they think this and it means that, and that's rude and that's okay. Because the problem is someone else is going to look at the same person and be like, I respect that she did. It's just different. And so I like to play that game with myself to know that I'm making myself mad when I'm upset. That's good. That's good for me. I want to know that I'm mad because I'm making myself mad, and I'm using their face and their voice and their actions as a way to make myself mad. Do I want to keep doing that? Maybe yes, maybe no. But I like to poke holes in my life is making me mad. My life is making me sad. This thing is making me unhappy. No, that thing happened. Yeah, the same thing, you want to break it down with mother-in-law for just so everyone knows, I love my mother-in-law. This is just a common thing I see with clients, is they have people in their lives when we throw it on the mother-in-law that would say something that they get really upset. And they're like, she doesn't care about me. She's super rude. She doesn't think anything through. They have this story about their mother-in-law. And it's important to know that there's the space in between is the meaning making machine that our brain goes to work to define and decode and to explain why she said that.
There's a processing in between the circumstance and your interpretation of it.
She said words. But do you notice if I say that, you're like, where did the drama go? Exactly. All the drama's gone. The drama is you. You are the drama. We are the drama. If there's drama, it's because of us. And the reason we know that is because we know there are other people. So like if I have someone in my life who drives me crazy and I told someone else exactly what happened, they wouldn't have an emotional reaction to it. They'd be like, oh, they might try to like feel sympathy for how I'm feeling, and they might try to understand it, and they might try to support me, but like ultimately they aren't feeling the same way.
Have you ever gotten frustrated when you talk to somebody about something and wish they would match your energy and it
they're
feels
just like
uncomfortable?
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Where someone
you're
wants
being
to
over the top.
bitch, yeah, and you're just like, oh, I don't know, I don't think she really meant it that way, and you're like, oh, like I was pissed and I wanted us all to get pissed together.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately, it's really a way that people connect, and I think that kind of sucks. And I'm not saying that I'm not guilty of that. I beat a dead horse just like the next person. I have to really consciously be like, do I want to funnel my energy into this right now? Because it's just easier to connect on the basis of gossip and talking shit, and that's how people connect. And I think that's sad. I think that's a shitty way to connect. I think connecting in a way to bring someone else down is just a shitty way to make connections.
It's a very low vibrational connection, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, you know that because you feel gross about it. Like you never walk away feeling empowered. You're like, oh, that's kind of yucky. Like we just spent like 2 hours just like, looking at this from every angle and all that stuff. It's like, but I also feel like it's the type of thing that feeds the energy of these days. It's like, it's giving TikTok energy. It's giving just like quick hits of connect, like faux connection to the same way I would consider social media. It's like, it's not real connection, but it feels like a dirty substitute for it. And that's the way I see gossip and talking crap. Like I can do it and I do it, but I always feel gross after. I always feel like, how sad that I caught up, I went to lunch with someone and we just talked about like yucky stuff like that. It's not the way I want to spend my energy, but with the way the world works, you have to pull out of conversations like that. And you know how it feels when someone doesn't jump in.
Yeah.
Like, as the person who's trying to get people to jump in when you're like, oh, they're not taking the bait on this. They don't want to talk about this. And it's just everyone kind of getting on the same, what's happening in those situations is everyone's getting on the same page about a story. Yes. That's it. It's the story. You guys you're matching your stories up and you're connecting to the point where you both agree on the story. That's it. It's not factual. It can feel factual because you have other people who agree with you, but it's not factual. It's just, you're both saying like, yep, I feel the same way about this situation. And then you get to kind of like spin out in that as long as you want to. But I think I think it's a big deal to take accountability for your emotions. I think it is not like, it's not good to not do that. It's not good to make everyone else the problem. I don't think that shows emotional intelligence. I don't. I do think it's an easy place to live, but it's just there's no accountability there. And I think the best thing we can do is be like, I'm feeling the way I'm feeling because of the way that I'm seeing the situation.
Where's the line between like allowing somebody to say something shitty and then you taking responsibility for your emotional reaction and the story you make about it and holding somebody accountable for saying something shitty?
I don't know. I think that's an interesting place to be because what is holding somebody accountable?
You shouldn't say shitty things to people.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't mean to play like devil's advocate on this. Of course you shouldn't. You shouldn't be, but people will be that. And so holding them accountable and being like, you shouldn't have done that. You always have a right to feel the way that you feel. But again, you're still feeling the way you feel because you believe people shouldn't act that way. It's still based on a story. So to me, I'm like, I'd rather pull my energy out of that and direct it somewhere else and not keep myself in places where I feel like I'm being treated in that way. So I don't know, I might have a weird take on that because it doesn't mean you just let anything happen and you just let it and you stay in that environment.
For example, let's say it's your spouse, right? Someone you love, someone you live with.
Yeah.
Are you just going to let them say whatever they want and then just change your story about it every time?
They're going to say whatever they want regardless. So I guess what you're trying to say is like, at what point do you decide you want to say something, you want to have a conversation? You get to do that whenever you want. And also know that they still might not change. Yeah. They might still keep doing that. We have the accountability for our perception. We also have a responsibility to make decisions that might be hard to make. Like if you're in environments or in relationships with people who are doing things that you consider to be shitty, you should pull your energy out of that space and that relationship and go somewhere else. So that, it's just hard because if you're always making it about other people need to change. I think it's always worth it to see if there's a perspective shift for you there first. Otherwise,
you have more power over that.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to keep going around and trying to change. You need to change. You need to be different. This isn't okay. This isn't. And then it's like, are you doing anything on the inside of you too? It's not, like there is a balance between, I think you work on your perspective first. You come from a clean place. And by clean place, I mean, you really like your reasons for why you're about to make whatever decision it is that you're going to make that you feel is the right decision. My recommendation on that is space. Give yourself space to be able to act in accordance with your values and what's important to you, so that you don't do or say things that you regret or react. We don't want to react. We want to respond if we decide we want to respond. So it's not always, but I also hold a belief that when you do that inner work, your outer world just changes. And you can blame that on quantum physics. You can blame it on whatever you want. But I also believe that when we change ourselves, our environment changes. We experience everything in our environment differently when we are different. And so I always feel like that's a better place to start than let me change my job, let me divorce my spouse, let me change all. That's again trying to solve it by let's change everything external.
Right.
Let's first look at the way you're perceiving it. This is not an excuse. I'm going to give the caveat. I don't need to give, but like, obviously this doesn't apply to places when you're in imminent danger or where there's active abuse going on. Please don't be like, how could I see this differently? Okay. We have to use that common sense in this area. But when it comes to a place where you are just someone who's constantly upset by everything all the time, that's a really good signal that it's a you thing. If you're upset by everything all the time, that's the trick. You live life in a triggered state. The whole world is not going to bend its knee to you. You have to look at, what is this bringing up in me?
I think some people get off on just being triggered all the time too.
Yes, I do. I agree with you. It's just, I believe that it gives a dopamine hit. I believe that whatever chemicals are produced by outrage and being in that triggered state, people have grown accustomed to. I really do. And it's a state that a lot of people spend a lot of their time in. And I like to say that's an option. That's up for grabs. It's a choice.
I don't think they see it that way.
They don't see it that way, but that's fine. That's coexisting in this world. I think that I don't think we were just meant to like walk on the earth and just be triggered by things constantly and to be like, oh my God, I can't believe they said this. I can't believe they did this. This means that. And this is so upsetting. And this is so rude. And this is so unhelpful. And this is so hurtful. And this is so, if you are someone, and you're probably not listening to this podcast, honestly, if you are someone like that, but if you are someone who is constantly, your dominant emotional state is upset and it is anger, I want you to know that that's not all there is out there. And that state is being generated by your perception and by the state of your nervous system. That is what is generating that. And unfortunately, that is the world you will experience. You will experience an angry, dangerous, hateful world because that's the state you stay in all the time. That's just the reality. Like life is 50-50. It is dark and light. It is, good, wonderful things happening and horrific things happening. It always has been. All of those things together. But the world you focus on is the world you will see. And we have to zoom out a little bit and see the dichotomy of it all. We can't. And if you only see one side, I want to assure you it's because you're only looking at one side. That's it. And I would encourage you to zoom out and to also use your triggers as information. I think they're amazing information. And it's pretty easy for me to identify like, oh, I see what this is bringing up in me. And I think I'm pretty aware of what my wounding is, of where my soft spots are. But it's like, oh, this is making me angry. And it's making me angry because I'm holding this belief they shouldn't have done that. And when I think that thought, I feel really mad. And when I feel really mad because I'm thinking that thought, here are the things that I do. whatever, enter in whatever the things you do when you're feeling super angry because you are just feeling like this shouldn't have happened. Well, it did happen. So what do you want to do with that? How long do you want to stay in that angry place? And are you willing to take responsibility for the fact that, I'm feeling this way because this is my story. Now, let me get to the flip side of this.
I was just going to ask you.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the difference between top down, bottom up. What we've been talking about this entire time is top down.
Top down. Okay, so let me define.
What is top down?
So top down just means we're going cognitively based first. We're looking at a mindset first, cognitive focus of thinking. We're really focusing on the thoughts.
What is the story?
What is the story? What is the perspective? How am I describing this? That's all coming from what am I making this mean? And, that was a big aspect of the way I was trained, was really focusing on your thoughts. And if this thought can make you feel this way, you can pick another thought and it can make you feel that way. And while I do believe it's very cool and important to see that very clearly and be so if let's use for example, she shouldn't have done this. Apply that to whatever you think someone shouldn't have done. She shouldn't have done this. Then you apply it to, or you have a different thought that's like, I kind of understand why she did that. What you'll feel is an immediate shift in the energy and your emotional state, because one of them makes you enraged and one of them makes you curious, compassionate, understanding, open, any of those feelings. And you'll see whoa, see, so the same thing happened, but when I had this thought about it, I felt rage and so mad. But when I had this thought about it, I felt kind of distant from it. I felt not so involved in it. I felt more open and curious and understanding and compassionate. How fascinating that is. And I do think that's fascinating. If you haven't done work like that, you'll love coaching because it is about seeing those things. But what I felt like was missing, especially in my training, which is why I went on to get further training around the somatic side, the trauma side, trauma and somatics aspect, was that there was something missing when we were working top down, and that there was a whole nother space that was bottom up, that worked mainly from the body and the emotional state of the body and the state of the nervous system. So there were two different things. And I personally have an issue if it's too much of either side, because you can also get caught in the bottom up world where it's all about somatics and it's all about feelings and it's all about completing emotional feelings and experiences and being able to get that energy out of your body. And I just feel like there's such a beauty in both. I encourage you, whatever type of help you're getting, whether it's therapy, whether it's coaching, whether it's something else, that you are working from both ends of the body, that we are doing.
Sorry to interrupt you. Why is bottom up important though? Because
when you look at the loop of your thinking, your feeling, and your behaviors, you have to know that, yes, first of all, I want to tell everybody, you're probably listening to this, but I want you to know that this is a big, gigantic loop. It's a circle. How you think, how you feel, and what you do. And when we say that your thoughts create your feelings, we are not addressing the fact that your nervous system state also drives your thoughts. So if you see this as a loop, the way that you're feeling, I want you guys to think about a time when you were feeling in full on fight or flight. I don't care if you're feeling anger. I don't care if you're feeling anxiety. What did that do to the state of your thinking? Tell me what the flavor of your thoughts were when your body was in a nervous system response. Fearful thoughts, overthinking, catastrophic thinking. So if I, as a coach, am trying to help you and being like, oh my God, you're having such catastrophic thoughts. We need to stop those catastrophic thoughts. You think that something terrible is going to happen. Stop thinking that. Can't you tell you're feeling so bad because you're thinking something bad is going to happen? Choose a different thought. You need to think a better thought. That's why anytime I've had a coaching client who's like, I don't know what's better to think. It's like, okay, sometimes you're in a state that's calm enough where really all we got to do is just see you're thinking in a way it's just shitty thinking. And if we change the thinking, you're going to feel different pretty quick and we're going to get the show on the road. But that is taking out of account such a huge driver of the way you feel, what you do, and what you're thinking, because the state of your nervous system drives all of those things. And so if you're in one of those, you're in that sympathetic state of fight, flight, all that shit, that affects your thinking to such a significant degree.
How do I know?
How do you know? Well, I think a really good way to know is that if it feels like changing your thinking, that feels so irrelevant. And you've spent a lot of time trying to change your thinking and you haven't felt any different.
You want to know a good example?
Yeah, tell me.
My road rage.
Yes.
When somebody does something
I try
dumb.
so hard. Please tell the people.
When somebody does something dumb on the road and it makes me angry.
Could we just pause for 1 second? Sure. People do stuff on the road because it's going to be helpful for people.
Yeah.
Someone is not going. Like, what are you doing? So I want to just break this down in the way that we're talking about it, because what Ryan just said was when someone does something dumb on the road, remember that is going to go in the place of his thought about them.
Yeah.
How do we know? Because I would just be like, oh, like I'm a shitty driver too. So like, I get it. I get where these people are coming from. So someone doesn't turn or they whatever, and you categorize it as they did something dumb, which causes an emotional reaction in you.
Yeah. I just want to say it's not little things. It's like,
justification.
Justification.
He's justifying. Yeah. Tell me why it's
or if like I had to squeeze in and potentially cut somebody off, and then he's racing around me and staring me down. I'm like, those things get my blood boiling.
Yes.
Right. And I don't hear what Maggie's saying about my thoughts for 30 to 60 seconds.
Tell them some of the stuff I tell you about when you're getting really mad.
I am muted. I don't hear it.
I'm just like, they may be driving to the hospital. I'm like, they may be having like the worst day. I'll be like, she kind of looks stressed out.
And to be honest, every time you do that, it annoys me.
I know it does.
I don't want to hear it.
I know, you get so much more mad.
But this used to be a problem where I would be dysregulated for a long time. I know now that give me 90 seconds.
I try
of
to
silence, and then I can hear you.
Yeah. And so the problem here is that you're in full blown fight mode.
Yeah.
So see how I lean on the anxious side. So I'm on the flight mode. I'm trying to like, if someone cuts me off, I'm like, I'm trying to get away, right? Yeah. I'm trying to like, woo, let me get through this light so that I know I'm not going to sit at lights with you. Like that makes me super anxious. He's in the fight mode. He's angry. He's mad and he's dysregulated. And so me trying to be like, well, I mean, what if his brain has said, no, like this is a problem. This is a threat. This is keeping me from, it's so interesting because it's like, I'm not sure. I can't identify what the danger is of it, other than the fact that you have beliefs of how people should drive. You have expectations of people on the road. And unfortunately, people are people and those expectations will never be met. So when people go against your beliefs of how someone should drive a car, that incites a flight or a fight reaction within your body. Your body is freaking out as if it needs to go settle this. It needs to. And so sometimes that will lead to you speeding up and speeding around and looking in their car and seeing if they look as dumb as they drive. And there's a story under it. Sure, for sure. And we could unpack that 60 seconds later now because you work through it.
The example though is I can't change my thinking.
You can't. And the problem is you can't access your limbic system. And this is going to, who cares about the jargon? The stress part of your brain and the fight or flight part of your brain and your nervous system is what's on fire. And it's going off and it's saying that this is a huge problem. And so you can't access the higher part of your brain, which is your prefrontal cortex that goes, I wonder how I could understand what's happening. I wonder how I could understand why they might have done that. See me, I'm not triggered. He's the driver. He's triggered. I'm not triggered. Yeah. I'm able to access my prefrontal cortex. And I'm ready to give him another perspective. But his body is saying, I can't even hear you until I get to a bit of a better baseline. Not a perfect baseline, because you might still be mad for the whole 7 minutes, but you're not in the can't access my higher part of your brain for that whole 5 minutes. You're just in a full-on triggered moment for a minute.
Yeah.
Where what are you doing in those moments? Because people are like, how do I regulate my nervous system? It really is just about bringing back some level of safety to the body. But you're driving a car, so how do you handle that? What are you doing?
I'm not doing much. I'm just honestly just waiting for it to pass.
Yeah. So if I were going to guess, it would be a bit of breathing and just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is something I've observed in myself over time, and the triggers don't last as long as they used to. And it's something that I'm working on to not let trigger me, obviously, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah. And so that's the question people get is like, what kind of breath work should I do? Should I do the physiological side? Should I do some box breathing? I guess if you want to, but also know that you would be doing those things in a sense of, I need to calm myself down as soon as possible. And it sounds like you're just doing a bit of allowing. What you're doing is you're allowing that primal process to move through you.
Yeah.
And so because you have the awareness, because you know it's one of your patterns, you also know that it passes. And you know that the worst thing that you could do is start ramping your own self up with your thinking about it. The worst thing you can do is start thinking about how they're such an idiot and how they should have done something better, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know that focusing on that is the worst use of your time. So instead you go, ooh, I'm triggered. You notice the trigger and you allow it to move through. And it does. There is a, you know, this gets tricky if you're really, really severely dysregulated, but ultimately, with someone who's like just mildly struggles with dysregulation, the lifespan of an emotion is 90 seconds. And if you think about it in that context where it's just like, ooh, I don't want to talk about this right now. I don't want to do anything to make this go away. I'm going to just fully allow it to run its course. Because all that's happened is your brain interpreted a threat by that driver. Your brain also released a cocktail of chemicals that are meant for you to go beat up somebody. Right? For you to use that energy and to get it out somewhere. And you don't have the ability to do that while you're driving. There's no way. You could go, you know, dribble a basketball. You know, I've seen people push up against a wall when they're feeling anger, like literally to dispel the energy, but you don't really have the opportunity to do that. So the only other option is let it move through. And I actually love that your answer was just like, I don't really do anything with it. I just know that the best thing I can do is just let it pass through, see it as a cloud.
Not react.
And not react. Yeah. It is a beautiful example of just accepting I got triggered, acknowledging that I think it is a good idea at some point once the nervous system regulates a little bit, to see what is the story I have around drivers that is causing this charge in me to be so activated. Like, what do I make it mean when someone makes a mistake while they're driving? What do I make it mean when someone because that's going to say way more about you than the other driver. And that's what people don't want to hear. What does it mean when someone makes a mistake? What does it mean when someone's sloppy? What does it mean when someone forgets to go or when someone's distracted at a light? What does that mean? And that's your work to do. Our triggers point us back to ourselves. And that's the hard part, is that they're never about the other person. As badly as we want it to be, that you're pissed off because people are fucking stupid on the road. That's what your brain and your trigger wants you to think. And that if everyone would just drive like me, which is why he doesn't like this, but sometimes I'll make a joke when he makes a mistake on the road.
Yeah.
And I will use it poorly, probably not the best use of a spousal relationship, but I'll be like,
she likes to point out when I drive down.
I'm thinking about it now, it's probably not. But the place that I'm coming from is like, everyone makes mistakes on the road. And something that again, is probably not helpful just because we are in such a close, intimate relationship, is I like to tell him, you know, I make dumb mistakes on the road too. Like, do you want like grown men getting upset at me in the way that you get upset? Like, I want to show him the ability to like have empathy for the fragility of people who are just out there, like maybe having the shittiest day, just to assume the best instead of assuming the worst. And that's what our triggers can show us. They can show us, where are we assuming the worst in people? How can I have compassion? Where do I do the same thing? The problem is, in the middle of those triggers and dysregulation is not exactly the time to access that type of conversation. It's not the time for me to be like, well, you know, sometimes I miss turns too. He's not going to hear it. And it's the same way in reverse. When I have been really anxious and I can't fucking see a way forward, I'm not hearing you. What are you talking about? Everything is going to explode. Him telling me, hey, and women love this, like just a man's ability to be like, hey, and Ryan hasn't done this much, but like, have you ever tried calming down about it? Have you ever tried just not worrying? Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. I'm not worried about it. In that way, Ryan and I are very complementary. He doesn't struggle with anxiety. I don't struggle with anger. When I do struggle with anger, I fucking hate it. I have compassion for that being one of your struggles. And I'm sure when you've had anxiety, you've been like, oh my God, this also feels terrible. I'm so glad I don't feel this. I'm so glad I don't feel angry all the time. And you're probably so glad you don't feel anxiety all the time. But we both have alternative views here, for where the things that make him mad don't really make me mad. And the things that make me anxious don't really make him anxious. and vice versa. Like the total polar opposite of what I just said as well. But our triggers are an opportunity for us to say, what is this bringing up in me? What am I putting on that person what do I think they represent? What are they representing for me? What are they pointing me back to? In what way am I putting my personal story and I'm painting it and I'm projecting it on them, or on the way they drive, or on the way that they handle this, or on the thing that they said, or on something that they did? We really, again, kind of missed the gift in being like, oh my God, they need to change. They shouldn't do that. That's not what I would have done. That's not how I would have driven. That's not how I would have handled that situation. And I would have handled it the right way. I never handle anything wrong. I never make mistakes. I always make the perfect decision. It's fully thought out, never anything wrong. And if it was my decision, I would have done things differently. Okay. We're missing the point a little bit. It's more so like, this makes me enraged. Why? And when you have the space, and when you've allowed, that's the thing, when you've just allowed that visceral reaction to move through you, no matter what it is, but it's dysregulation. When you've allowed that to move through, then you suddenly have access to that higher brain. And you're like, oh, okay. That's when you can actually, that's both the real work, really. Because we also have to get better at being like, I feel this, the anxiety RX, what's his name? Russell Kennedy, who I would love to have on this podcast at some point. He describes it as sensation without explanation. So in those moments where you're letting it move through you, you're allowing it to just be sensation without explanation. You're not trying to be like, why do I feel this way? Why is my heart beating this fast? Why did they do that? Sensation. You don't need to explain it. Let it move through you. And once it does, you get the option to be like, what would I like to do different next time? Knowing that, I think, what's the Viktor Frankl quote? The space in between, I'm going to basically he's saying that there's a space in between the trigger and the response. And I also think there's also a space before the trigger, though. Because the reason you're responding the way you do is because you have beliefs about the way things are supposed to work. And in order for that not to trigger you next time, there has to be a change in the beliefs. So that when it happens, you're just like, oh, it just doesn't hit me the same way, because I understand that. We'll just use this example because it's what we're going with. Like, yeah, people make mistakes on the road. I drive distracted sometimes too. Whatever. But if you can truly do that work in the off time, then the next time it happens, perhaps the trigger won't be quite as big. So I believe both. I definitely believe that in between trigger and response, there is a space, and within that space is your ability to respond versus react. But I also believe that if we don't deal with the space that happens between the circumstance and the trigger, because if we fully define trigger, we have to define it as the feeling space. But what we didn't catch was the beliefs that we have that hold that charge. Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Because there's two different, like, once you're triggered, we're already a little bit too far. Yeah. We missed what precedes a trigger, which is our belief. And sometimes those beliefs are so well ingrained that that's why it feels subconscious. We're instantly triggered, because if we're not willing to explore the beliefs that trigger the trigger, then we're always going to get caught at the trigger line where now we're trying to manage the trigger. I think the trigger gives you views to go into the deeper work of, what are the beliefs that I have that when someone shows up in this way, I get so triggered. Do I want to keep believing that? And if not, what would I like to believe instead? And that is the real stuff that causes change.
There's definitely a scale of like dysregulation.
Totally.
I've noticed in myself where I know like this will pass in 90 seconds, or like this one's going to take 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to say, I think all of this work takes a certain level of self-awareness that not everyone has. But if you're listening to this podcast,
you haven't, yeah.
In developing yourself, you probably have some level of self-awareness of being able to observe your thinking and to be able to observe the state of your nervous system and to evaluate it and to work on it.
Yeah, and to take accountability for what it is, no matter how it got there. And that's what we should discuss, which is initially, awareness is cool because you see what's happening. But then I normally see that the second step after awareness is judgment. And it's like, oh my God, I do get angry really fast. Oh my God, I don't feel out of control of this. So I want to also normalize that it's kind of like a cascade of emotions, because you're deciding to take accountability, make sure it doesn't shift into self-judgment, because this takes a lot of repetition and compassion with yourself, knowing that like it's just the way that your system has kind of been primed and programmed. And yeah, you do react quickly. And so the goal would be to react less quick. The goal would react. I love that you just said sometimes it's 60 seconds, sometimes it's 5 minutes. And when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, who gives a fuck? Like, I mean, in the past, it was a lot, like when you and I would get into stuff where we've made a lot of progress on this. Like it would be hours and hours and hours, maybe until the next day, because we were so committed to what we were making it mean that we had to start having conversations where I said, the way that I'm interpreting what happened is through this lens, so that you would have the opportunity to say, that is not the lens in which I did that thing.
Yeah.
And so I would say, I was willing to come to our disagreements or whatever it was and take responsibility for my part, which I don't think most people do in relationships, because it's hard to do. It's hard to be like, I'm hurt because I'm telling myself that when you do that thing, it means that you don't love me. That's a really painful story. But if I can't hear you out and be like, oh my God, that was not what I meant in any way, shape, or form, then we can have a dialogue that says, I'm taking accountability for the fact that I'm telling myself a story that hurts really bad. Am I off here? Let me give you a chance to tell me what you meant. And almost always it's a misunderstanding. And we are both coming from our individual wounding and our individual stories and our individual histories. And when you're in relationships with other people, that all gets mashed together. And if you don't bring that awareness to relationships, your relationship's not going to make it. It's just not. There's so much of that work that has to be done that says, I'm responsible for how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, this is probably a future podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Because everyone, like people like to find the like holes in it where it's just like, no, if I'm really upset, that doesn't mean people don't do shitty things, but that gets hard too, because someone else may be like, I don't know, that doesn't feel shitty to me.
Yeah.
And that may be a problem too, because they don't perceive it as shitty. Like I will be the first one to say that this work is very, very nuanced, and there's going to be common sense is very important. Self-awareness is very important. Self-accountability is very important. Intuition is very important. All of that stuff plays a role in this.
And coaching can help.
And coaching is so valuable in helping you see different perspectives. And the reason why I love it is because if you're working with a good coach, they don't have the answers for you. They don't know what the right decision is. And their job, my job as a coach, is to reflect your brain back to you and to show you what you're thinking and show you what the dominant state you've been living in emotionally, and show you the things that you might not be seeing, so that you can make the decision you want to make for the reasons that align with what you value in life and the experience that you want to have. That's it. That's my job. I don't have a blueprint of the way I believe. And that's my job as a coach too, to keep my beliefs about what you need to do based on what I did out of the picture too. It's having this level of neutrality. It says, hey, come here, let's both look at this, and let's look at it from this angle, and let's look at it from this angle, and let's see this, and let's settle this so that you're not making a reactive decision from a nervous system state that you're going to regret later. And then you get to make these decisions that you feel really good about, not because they're the right or the wrong decision, but they're the decision that you made with as much information as you could for a reason that you really, really like, instead of a reason based in fear or scarcity or a level that's going to have you like, oh, I'm doing this. I saw it a lot in the health space where it was like people were making decisions because they were so afraid of being sick, getting sick. That's very different than making decisions that are rooted in, I really want to support my physical body. They have a completely different energy. And, I find it fascinating how impactful the energy with which you make your decisions is. And if you're not aware and you're making all your decisions from the reactivity you feel in that moment, it's not going to be surprising when you're like, I'm not really happy with my life. And it's because of that. So your triggers are your responsibility. I know that that kind of sucks, but it doesn't suck which is funny in my perspective. It doesn't suck because of the story I tell myself about it, which is this always shows me where I have more work to do. If anyone ever does anything that makes me feel afraid or disappointed or anything, if I feel any emotional reaction based on something someone else has done, I open that gift and I say, what is this showing you about your beliefs about you? It doesn't have anything to do with that other person. Release them from that responsibility. What is it showing you about you? And do you want to keep those beliefs intact, or are they serving you? And to know you have full ability and, dare I say, a responsibility to take ownership of those beliefs and to decide on purpose if you want to keep them as the underlying deciders of your life, because they really do run the show, unfortunately. So the awareness is good, but the intentionality on changing and deciding what to keep is even better.
Before we end, you're talking about your relationship with coaching. Are you taking clients right now?
I don't know, am I?
What date is this releasing? This, I don't know when this is releasing, the 22nd, I guess. I mean, I guess it's up to you. You have a one-to-one booking and you have a program.
Yeah. My program right now is closed.
Okay.
It's going to be reopening on October 1st, which I'm so excited about.
Are you taking one-to-one sessions?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
So you can go to link in my bio and you can put the link.
Click the link in your bio to learn more about that.
Yeah. But it's going to be a better option for you to wait until my membership opens, to be honest, because you'll get more discounted rates on my one-to-one. But I do, coaching and consulting. But I'm excited for the reopening of my program as I've made the changes and really kept this program focused on coaching. I want to make sure that you are coming into it, that you have a good grasp on the work that we're doing around nervous system regulation, behavior change, living life on purpose, taking accountability, everything that we will talk about on this podcast, as well as the ability to coach yourself. I in no way, unless you guys want to stick around forever, am in no way wanting to become a crutch for people where it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. I need to wait till I have a coaching call. No, but the combination of being able to get coached, being able to watch others get coached, being able to ask coaching questions and being able to coach yourself makes it a very well-rounded program that you are focusing on the stuff that matters and not the distractions, and that you have the ability to coach yourself and the ability to see what coaching is like so that you can coach yourself. That's the cool thing about listening to a lot of coaching. Like, you have the ability to apply that work to yourself. And
it's the work we talked about on this entire episode.
Yes. Yeah, it is. And it's so valuable because you're going to feel better faster. And although, like I said, the goal isn't always to feel better as quick as possible, but I know that that's the ultimate goal that we all have. Anything that you want to do or create in your life or anything is because of an emotional experience that we're after, or an emotional experience we're trying to escape. I don't want to feel bad, or I do want to feel good, or both. I want to stop feeling bad and feel good. And so in that sense, we have to take accountability for the ways that we're contributing to why we feel so fucking terrible and what we can do to stop that immediately. It's almost like, let's stop the bleeding first. We can work on identity change later. Let's stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I mean, the ways that we are letting all this energy go out when we're focusing on all this shit that doesn't matter, or when we're spending all of our time being upset and upsetting ourselves by our thinking and we're not seeing the connection. We're like, I don't know. There are always things happening in life that make me feel terrible. And that's where I got to stop you right there. There are things in life that are happening and your perspective decides how terrible you feel about that. And you can feel god awful and you can make it shrink you into a ball and be so afraid of your life that you do nothing, or you can take accountability for how you feel about things and you can become confident and make decisions on how you want to contribute to the world. And do you see how both of those things, one of them is a pullback and one of them is we're coming out and we're taking accountability and responsibility and deciding on purpose. I want to help people take that power back ASAP. And then from there, that builds us a much firmer foundation to be like, all right, I see my role in this. And it's the role, this is where I want there to be no confusion on this podcast or the work that I do. The work that we are doing is not just stopping the bleeding. The work that we are doing is not just stopping the suffering. Because I'm afraid that it's going to get painted in that way, that the goal is just to for life not to suck that bad and for us to dig into the deep, dark things and feel shitty on purpose and sit in the shit and allow the emotions. Sure, that's all part of it, but it's all part of living an intentional life that you don't need to escape from, and a life that feels good to you, and that you have connections that you love and joy and creation and contribution. And, Tony Robbins, if you're not growing, you're dying. But we're not just trying to grow out of the pain. I want to help you guys do that for sure, but I want you to also create a life that you love. That's equally, if not more important. I just know we can't get there if we don't do the other work. So please do me a favor and understand that when I say the real work, I don't mean the real work of shit. That's not what I mean. Sorry. I love using all of my words today. That's not what I mean. It's not how do we deal with the yucky as best as we can. No, it's about, yes, for sure, part of it. But it's also about you have this one life to live. And we're shitting away our days at this point when we are unaware and not taking responsibility for creating a life that we want to live. And I want to help people get into that alignment and stop living for other people and stop wasting your days doing shit you hate for people you hate, growing resentment and all that shit.
Telling stories to yourself.
Yeah. And just
that make you miserable.
Yes. Painting the world in a way that makes you feel awful and makes you retreat and makes you shrink and makes you scared. And that's the thing. It's not about one thing. Because I know if I want to spend my time being terrified about the future and the world for my children, that is so readily available for me right now. But it's also equally as beautiful to look at having the world at your fingertips. It's hard. I think what's so hard for us as humans is to hold both of those. We have to be how can I possibly focus on this when this exists? And it's both of those things have always existed. And you shouldn't focus too far in either direction. I don't think. I think it's healthy to have. So it's yes, do the dark work, but also create your life on purpose. Yes, things are horrific, but they're also beautiful and brilliant depending on where you're looking. It's not about looking away, and it's not about looking away from either side. It's about being someone who has the resilience in them to create and live even despite it all, it's not about one thing or another. So I think that what we're lacking as humans is resilience, and we're lacking emotional regulation, and we're lacking awareness of the way we contribute to our dysregulation.
So your program's opening October 1st. You can learn more in the link in bio. As we're talking on the topic of coaching, and this is one last thing, this podcast is going too long. Can you give me a menu of things you coach on? What do you coach on?
I coach on everything.
Everything.
I coach on...
Give me examples.
I coach on everything. Anything that you're having a problem with, whether it's relationships, whether it's your job, whether it's your habits, whether it's your identity, did I already say relationships? That's the thing, is we're all in relationship with everything in our life with our thoughts about it. And so these things that we're doing to cope and to distract, and the ways that we please other people, and the ways that we don't live our lives for ourselves, and parenting, and overeating, over drinking, over distracting, inability to feel our emotions, and nervous system dysregulation, and overworking. Did I already say that? It's just, I gotta get the menu out. But it's
on the spot.
Whatever it is, whatever these things are where you're I'm not happy about this part of my life, it's always going to go back to your emotional state and your thinking. It is. And I've coached so many women lately. I've done so many more one-to-one calls, and it's just so apparent that we've lost our connection to joy and creation, and we've become swallowed up in what's on social media and what's happening in the world and what's happening in our homes and raising our kids and being a mom and all these things where we're just like, dude, I don't even know up from down. I'm so busy. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overstimulated. I'm so underfulfilled. It's all a problem right now for people. They don't even know what they want. They don't know what they enjoy. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They're doing things in life to feel better or to feel worthy. Like I've coached a lot of women who they're burning themselves out. They're working as a way to feel valuable and worthy. And they don't even know where these stories came from. They don't even know why they're this way.
Well, I think a lot of people are turning into habits they don't want to be doing to fill voids in their life too.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's just whatever it is and that's what's cool about it is ideally you're not working on all the things all at once, but oftentimes working on one area of your life, especially in the sense where you can take control of your thinking and your perspective and your emotional state, that's going to ripple off to every other area of your life. So remember that all roads lead back to Rome. It's not about solving all of it. There's a good chance that if things are wonky in one part of your life, they are probably wonky in multiple areas of your life, but you don't need to.
You learn the skill here and then you can learn how you can apply it there.
You realize that if I have relationship problems, then solving my relationship problems from the context of how I think and how I perceive and how I feel and what I believe and what I do, then I'm also going to see that if I have work problems, that's also the same problem. It's all the same work.
Same solution.
It's the same solution. Yeah. It's how do I need to change? How do I need to see this differently? How do I need to act differently? So that's what's cool about this work as well. It may seem like, what do you mean anything? You coach on anything? Well, because it's all the same thing. It's not. And that's the problem is we've been sold specific solutions for each one of those things. This is how you solve relationship problems. This is how you solve employment problems. This is how you solve financial problems. This is how you solve whatever problems. It's all the same problem and it's all the same solution, but there are cool tools and techniques and things that you can use to support the change. And that's what I offer with coaching is change. It's about change. It's about being different than you've been, which automatically creates a new life for you, a new reality. There's no other way to describe it because you're experiencing your world completely different. And your world doesn't need to change. It doesn't need to change unless you choose to change it. And that's what I think is cool. It becomes very apparent what you would like to change when you don't feel like, I need this to change. You change you, and then you decide what you'd like to change. We do it backwards. We say, I need to change this so I can feel better. No, I need to feel better so that I experience this thing in a new way, and then I decide, does this thing stay or go? Yeah. That's a much better way to make your decisions from than you guys are all trying to put out fires. You don't realize that it's like, oh, I need to get rid of this, and I need to get rid of this, and this needs to change, and I need that to all change. And when we reverse it and we change ourselves, then you get to decide from a place of really true empowering decisions of, I'm done with this. I'm done with this relationship. I'm done with this job. I'm done with this way of doing things. But too many of us are changing the things hoping that it changes us. But that's only because we believe that thing is responsible for how we're feeling, which is how I'm going to tie all of this back. The only reason you would ever feel like that thing needs to change is because if you are giving it power and saying that thing is making me feel bad, that person is making me feel mad. So what I need to do is if I get rid of that person, guess what? You're going to just be mad somewhere else. If that's your natural state, it doesn't go away. You will find something else to be angry about. What do they say about when you squeeze an orange? What do you get when you squeeze an orange? Whatever's inside. And so it's the same thing with people. What do you get when someone is squeezed and pushed? Whatever's inside. So whatever's inside is what's going to get when you get squeezed. When you get pushed, when you get triggered, we see that's a squeeze. We see the juice that's coming out. That's the truth. That's what's in there. And so if you want life to change, you have to change what's happening inside. So that when you get squeezed next time, something else is displayed. That's how you know that what's inside has changed.
I love that.
All right, guys. See you next week.
All right. See you.